this issue of the alignment of national security and economic security, there's a blurry line between those two. Sometimes national security can bleed into protectionism, where in fact it's negative for economic security, because, as I said, protectionism can yield a situation where you've got higher prices, lower quality, less variety, and so you're worse off from an economic standpoint, even if you think you're better off from a national security standpoint. So we have to be a little bit concerned about the relationship between national security and economic security. All that said, we have to, let's talk about some ways of responding to the challenge of a pandemic, for example. And these were considered before, not implemented. These possible strategies were not implemented, but let's talk about ways in which we could have been responsive earlier on. Stockpiling, redirecting production of certain key elements to ensure that certain elements of PPE were available. As I say, we turned away some imports, testing kits, for example. So it's a little hard to say. And of course, the next pandemic will be different. The next challenge for which the national security argument is used will be different. And so it's very hard to know in advance what you're supposed to stockpile, what you're supposed to protect, what is key to produce locally. And that's where we come back to the essential reconsideration of supply chains, which is about transparency and visibility about the linkages, the diversification of the sources, and the flexibility in order to buy from one another source in the case of a crisis. That's a much better strategy for dealing with a pandemic or a national security concern is to have visibility. Where is it being produced? Diversification. How many places are producing it around the world, in my country, around the world? And do I have the flexibility to make the transition from one location to another if, in fact, there is a critical problem in one spot?